Good afternoon and good morning, everyone. My name is James Lemon, the founder of Otolo, and welcome to Lobby Talks. Lobby Talks is our short, interactive and inspiring session with leaders from right around the hospitality industry. We just take a short snapshot and get to meet someone that I find and the Otolo community finds a phenomenal inspiration and mentor, and we get a chance to unpick them and their story, what's going on with their career, what's been their highs and lows, and how do they think about hospitality and the future of the industry. So really excited to be here. If you want to follow us along, we're on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn. You can also join us at myotolo.com at any time, where guests like today's presenter and many others will be there ready for mentorship and to support and inspire on a more day-to-day 24/7 basis. So excited to be here. Let's get started. Today, I'm going to be chatting with Marlene Poynder. Marlene is the GM of the Conrad in New York City and a phenomenally inspiring character in the hospitality industry and, of course, in New York City. So, Marlene, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Good morning, James. Thank you. Oh, good afternoon to you.
That's cool to have you here. So look, the format of the show is we meet in a virtual lobby of our choice, obviously not able to meet partly because of the Atlantic Ocean, partly because of coronavirus. So where are we meeting today? Tell me about your lobby.
Well, my lobby choice is interesting because obviously there's a lot of beautiful lobbies around the world. This one has special meaning to me. It is the Conrad Sanya in Haitang Bay on Hainan Island in southern China. It is the Hawaii of China, if you like. And after I'd finished my role of opening GM at Waldorf Astoria Beijing, I was asked to go down and mind this resort and the DoubleTree, which is attached to it, for 3 months before moving to Chicago. And it was a crazy 3 months. It was high season, so there were thousands of people in the resort. The first thing I used to do in the morning was go to the lobby here and just have a quiet cup of tea and contemplate the day that was going to be ahead and look out over the sea. It was also the last place I came to at the end of the day where I sat down, had another cup of tea and just went through the day, and it gave me a time to decompress. So it has special meaning to me because it brought me peace at the beginning and the end of the day.
That's fantastic. We normally think of lobbies as these, getting a bit of an echo there. We normally think of lobbies as these incredibly hectic places for meeting and socializing, but amazing to think that in the right place with the right mindset, it can be really tranquil and really calm. So great to be here with you and can't wait to be in Sanya in person. So would love to get to know you a little bit. Our first section's called Your Career in 60 Seconds. Are you up to the challenge? Perhaps you could share your background with us.
I'm up to the challenge. I'm going to try for 60 seconds. I started in business in the travel industry, and I worked in airfare consolidation, sales, wholesaling, retail for Jet Set Tours, a large global company, for most of my career, until I was approached by a hotel company, being Hyatt, to become a director of sales and marketing. I've been in hospitality now for 25 years. I have 0 qualifications in training or college for hospitality, but I found as soon as I got to a hotel as director of sales and marketing in Canberra, the Park Hyatt in Australia, I understood the business model. I loved the customer service contact, and it became my career. And I'd finally found it at probably a little older age than most would expect. I spent 14 and a half years with Hyatt in Australia and Asia Pacific headed up sales. I was the lead sales and market person for 11 openings in Asia, which gave me the inspiration to want to become a GM because I had figured over the years that I wouldn't be qualified. And because I'd opened sales offices, assisted in opening hotels, I realized that it wasn't a big, mystery to be a general manager, and that I did have the skill sets to be able to do it. And I'm fortunate that my company agreed, and I became a general manager. I've been a GM now for 15 years. 11 of those have now been with Hilton. And in Hilton, I've opened a resort in Queenstown for them. I then opened the Waldorf Beijing, and then I went to Waldorf Chicago, and now Conrad New York Downtown, and have done major renovations in both of those hotels. So quite an interesting career. I've ended up specialising in renovations and openings once again, not with that background, but just determined to work as hard as I could over the years.
Amazing. I mean, just hearing you is exhausting and inspiring. You've just touched so many parts of the industry, and that journey for up the ladder to GM, I'm sure, is something that many people are thinking, yeah, you know what, that's something I aspire to and I definitely shoot for. So fantastic. I'm sure there's been a lot of stories on the way. And that brings us to our next section, Marlene, which is called Good Day, Bad Day. So we know there are some real highs and real lows of working in any industry. Nothing's a roller coaster quite like hospitality. Perhaps you could go behind the curtains and take us through your best day in hospitality.
Oh, I was going to go bad day first.
Your choice.
Good day.
You're free to go bad day first. Over to your choice.
I always like to get bad news out of the way, but no, that's okay. I'll go good day first. It was really hard for me to choose good day because there have been so many, or good periods. You know, I put the 21 days that I worked on the Sydney Olympics at Park Hyatt Sydney as probably the best 3 weeks of my career. But if I had to choose one day, that would be the opening day of the Grand Hyatt Tokyo in Roppongi Hills. And the reason why it had so much meaning to me was for an opening hotel, it opened during Golden Week in Tokyo. So we were opening on one day and going to run 8 days straight at 100% occupancy. So there was no soft opening for this hotel. The precision that was required to open it and the high standards, obviously, that Japanese guests expected, put a lot of pressure on all of us, and we were so well prepared for it. And we opened 387 rooms, 7 restaurants, 3 bars, and 15 banquet halls in one day. And there were queues of people waiting to get in. And my job on the day ended up being handing out bottles of water on a silver tray to guests waiting to check in, because it's the one thing we didn't think of. It would be so hot. But it was such a memorable day because we'd all worked so hard to get there, and then fronted up and did it for another 7 days afterwards at 100%. So it has a lot of meaning to me as a special day.
Yeah, amazing. I think it says a lot about you that you were the one there handing out water, fixing things in emergencies. Pretty humbling. I'm pretty sure you could have been there with celebrities and the media and VIPs. So absolutely fair. And
no, not when you're opening a hotel.
Maybe not. Maybe not. What's the biggest lesson you took away from that? What, if you were to do it all over again, what did you get right?
Yeah, look, planning, and going over every scenario of what could go wrong and what could go right, and what if everybody turns up to check in the same 2-hour period. We did all of that. We, those of us that were there to help with the opening were living in-house for 6 weeks in the hotel before it opened. So, this was an opening that couldn't afford to go wrong because of the ownership and the eyes that were on it. And it was planning. And I found that in the rest of my career, if you plan for every scenario, generally not much will go wrong. If you don't plan, something always happens.
Definitely. I feel like I should be taking notes. I'm not a natural planner. I'm not a natural planner. And
Neither was I. I'm a sort of fly by the seat of my pants sort of girl in the rest of my life. But when it comes to work, not at all.
Okay. So you can learn it. It's a learned skill. It's good to hear.
Yeah, you can.
I think people I work with are really
It's not too late, James.
I'll sign myself up to a course. Brilliant. Look, so let's pivot the tables. I'm sure you've had some pretty tough times in your career, but maybe you could take us through your worst day in the industry.
Yeah. Tough times, yes, but probably the worst day where you have that sense of dread that runs through your body and the adrenaline just pumps through. It's happened to me once. And that was when I was general manager of a hotel in Sydney. And I was standing in the lobby, a hotel overlooked the water, a low-rise hotel, thank goodness. And I stood looking at our beautiful restaurant in the other end of the hotel. And all of a sudden there was a massive explosion. And I saw fire and one of my chefs just flying through the air. And what had happened was there was a fault in our wood-burning oven and it basically exploded, and the restaurant was full of people. And I had dread. I thought, oh my God, I hope there's nobody dead. And luckily in Australia, you do have to do physical drills all the time by law, and twice a year. We always used to do one where we evacuated the hotel anyway. We actually went into overdrive. Everybody in my team did exactly as they should have, because there was black smoke billowing out of the chimney stack in the top of the hotel. We evacuated the hotel in less than 8 minutes, every guest as well. We had ensured that everybody in the restaurant was out. Nobody was hurt. My chefs and engineers actually put out the worst part of the fire with fire extinguishers, and lucky we had them all ready to go. Then, of course, the fire brigade came and put the hoses on and basically wrecked the kitchen. But they did save it from going into the air conditioning duct through the hotel. And it was just an awful day. What did we learn from that? We learned that you never, ever should forget how important crisis management plans are, and fire drills, and to make sure that every team member understands every single drill possible. And the other thing is, which we did that day that I think saved some people, was you always have to print out, if there's an emergency, we all learn it, you have to print out the in-house guest list for the people that are in-house at that moment. Now, prior to that, we used to do it, once in the morning, once in the afternoon. What we learned from that, and luckily the fire happened at about midday, was that we'd run it at 10 o'clock. So just luckily, the fire happened at a time where we had a pretty late list of, we knew who was still in house and we knew who hadn't checked out. And I have to say, through my whole career and all the hotels I've managed since, I tell the story because they all look at me and roll their eyes when they say, oh no, we don't have to do all these fire drills all the time. And I said, unless you've been through one yourself, honestly, you just don't know what you don't know. So that was my worst day.
Yeah, there's some things you can really only learn through experience. Some things you can only learn through experience, can't you? And I think if people who travel regularly for business, chances are you've been called out in the middle of the night due to a fire, kind of emergency. Probably not a real one, but someone burning some toast or someone hitting a button by mistake. But behind the scenes, it's so important that staff realize that all these things happen for a reason, right? We don't have these standards for fun.
Correct.
We don't have these processes for fun. And I think, incredible that everyone ended up okay. But again, sounds like it went credit for your diligence and preparation. Yeah, big one.
Well, I mean, it was a hard way to learn, and I don't want people to learn by experience, but they have to understand the security, safety of the guests and the team members. When the buck stops with you, it's the thing that keeps me awake at night. I don't want to lose anybody on my shift. So, yeah. Yeah.
And I guess it's a really interesting time for the industry now. You and I are chatting a little bit before the call that, there's a real staffing crisis and we can't always attract the right people, get our usual hospitality people back. There's a lot of new people in the industry coming through. I hope with how tough things are budget-wise and economically, with so many new talented people coming through, it's really important we do stick to some of these basics, I suppose. And it'll be experienced leaders and mentors like yourself that probably remind people, hey, I know it feels like it's all about filling rooms again. It's all about filling bodies in roles again. But actually, guys, we've got a big responsibility as hospitality leaders.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I do know some people that have gone from hospitality to other businesses at the moment, and they're finding it very difficult to adjust because that hospitality focus and that attention to detail of certain things doesn't really happen with people from other industries. And, that's why we did a full evacuation last week, because we had so many new staff that, managers mainly, that hadn't really worked in a hotel. So, yeah. It was all new to them.
Big period of adjustment for everyone. Great. Look, switching speeds a little bit. We're going to talk about a section called Last Day on Earth. So we love to think about, not necessarily a positive thing, but if you just had 24 hours, one stay, one restaurant, one event left in you, would love to know what you'd do. Where would you take us? Where would you stay for your last day on Earth?
Mine is very specific because I've already done it twice. My husband and I love Rome. And so my last day on Earth would be in Rome. And if money wasn't an object, I would stay at the Rome Cavalieri, which overlooks the city of Rome. It's a Waldorf Astoria. They have a presidential suite there that has a rooftop deck with a jacuzzi and sun deck and overlooks the Vatican and the city, and it's just magical. I would stay there. I would definitely get up in the morning and do yoga on the rooftop after I've had an espresso coffee. And then I would spend the morning with a guy who has his own private company. His name is Luca, and it's called The Italian Job. And he has a series of old vintage mini miners. And he literally does drive these mini miners like it's in The Italian Job. He goes downstairs and he, goes around footpaths that normally minis aren't supposed to be in. And he knows everybody. He's Roman. His father was Roman. He knows everybody in the city. And do a private tour with Luca and have fun in the morning, and go to my favorite taverna, which is in Trastevere area of Rome, where a lot of the locals go and a lot of the entertainment is, and have a beautiful dish of pasta, go back to the hotel in the afternoon and relax and have a jacuzzi. And then my last meal would be on the deck of the Heinsbeck restaurant, which is La Pergola up there. It's a 3 Michelin star restaurant, but the reason I love this restaurant is it's not stuffy. It is just fun. Like only the Italians can do a 3-star Michelin restaurant, and all the waiters have fun. It's a beautiful meal, and they change the floral arrangements on the table in between courses, which I really love because I love flowers. And I just look at the sun setting on Rome and the stars coming out. It's a perfect day for me. That would be my last day on Earth.
Love that. Absolutely love that. I think what you've highlighted, what I couldn't help but think as you were speaking, it's tough when you're in the most amazing hotel in the most amazing city. I think I would constantly have this fear of not doing the right stuff. Do you just relax on this rooftop in this presidential suite and do your yoga? Or do you go out and just get the buzz of this, vibrant city with so many hidden secrets and all of these amazing kind of tours and things like that? That's a really tough one, right? In any city, I'm sure you find the same is true in New York, where you are now, where you get these amazing hotels like yours, Haven, but you also want to be out among the hustle and bustle of the locals.
Absolutely. And, I guess that's the advantage of having lived in other countries and also moving around. Sometimes I've only been posted for 2 or 3 years, and, my husband and I land in a place, and whether it's a resort or a city, and we hit the ground running. Basically, we go, okay, we don't know how long we're going to be here. And it's interesting because locals always end up saying to us, you do so much more than, we've done. We've never done that, but it's one of those things, because it's not, we'll do that in a few years. So we always want to make the most of every day that we have in a city, because you don't know how long you're going to be there. And we just have a great time.
Yeah.
And end up sort of tagging locals along the way, because they should do it, because you never know what's going to happen. They're all saying, well, we've all been sitting around doing nothing during COVID. It's like, well, see, you should have done that before.
Yeah.
So never put off what you can do today.
All these things on our doorstep that we've taken for granted. Exactly right. And I know that one of the joys of a hospitality career is you can get paid to travel, right? You can get paid to be sent to another country and explore it. And I'm sure it's a common story that when you're just somewhere for a short period of time, you fit in so much more than the locals who've been sitting on these things for years but never done it. Brilliant. Look, I can't carry on to the next section without pointing out you highlighted my absolutely favorite car. So one of my very first cars was a Mini Cooper, and some friends and I, we had red, white, and blue ones, and we actually drove them from London all the way to Mongolia. So 8,000 miles, 13 countries in my early 20s. Took a bit of a career break. So I'm going to look up Luca, and next time I'm in Rome, we'll just geek out on repairing Minis, because they're just so old, but you can fix them because they're so simple. Brilliant, fun cars.
Yeah. I mean, Luca's are pretty old. You don't go on this tour thinking he's going to be comfortable. My husband's 6'1", I'm 5'9", over to 5'9", so we sort of folded ourselves into the Mini. But it is fun. It is fun.
No, brilliant. Look, I'm with you. I'm definitely thinking Michael Caine Italian Job, not Mark Wahlberg Italian Job. Yeah, it's all about the authentic cars from the kind of 70s or so. Fab, look, love that. I think I might borrow your last day on Earth. That's an amazing one, Marlene. Thank you. So look, I wanted to kind of dig into the next section, which we call the guest book. And this is really, we can't, nearly time to leave. We can't say goodbye without getting your top tips, getting your guidance. So we'd love to know what words of wisdom, experience you'd share with other people passionate about following your footsteps in hospitality.
Yes. I have a couple of points. One is, I guess this goes in any service industry, but I find particularly in luxury hospitality, is don't let anybody tell you, look at the big picture and the detail will look after itself. For me, the devil is in the detail, and don't let anybody convince you any other way, because really, the detail has to be right. I think the other thing is, I have mentors. At the moment, I have 2 young reverse mentors who are people who used to work for me or still do for me now. And I think it's important for me to have those reverse mentors. But I have a life mentor, and he said to me, set yourself big, audacious 30-year goals. Now, I wish somebody had told me that when I was really young. I did that when I was older. And, don't get your goals too detailed, because you'll need to be able to change and move along the way as to what happens to you in your life or your career. But you should really set huge goals as to what do you want to be doing in life in 30 years' time, and, ensure that the plans along the way, you still have that end goal in mind. And the other thing is, when you're working, going for a job, coming out of college and going for all these interviews, have a plan for any project that you're going to do, every job role that you're going to do, so that you really go into interviews very well prepared, or you go, into a project very well prepared. If you haven't worked up on a plan and you don't know what the end game is, you're just going to spin your wheels for way too long, and you probably won't be successful at it either. So I'd definitely say that. And I'm going to quote the words of Indra Nooyi. She's the former PepsiCo CEO. Somebody asked her in an interview, a podcast I was listening to, how do you set yourself up for the next big role in your career? And I won't use the words that she did because I might be beeped out, but so I have replaced a word. She said, don't concentrate on working with people to get your next role. Just do a damn good job at the role you're doing and set yourself up so that you're noticed. And the only way that you'll be noticed is to actually kick all the goals out of the park, and you will get to where you want to be for your next role. And I've basically, in the last 5 or 6 years, really taken that one to heart. And I must admit, it's just helped me tremendously. And my career in the last 5 or 6 years, I think, has been probably the most successful and most satisfying to me that I've had for many years. Work hard, take sideways moves. Don't say no just because it's not a promotion. If it's a role and your skill sets aren't perfect, but that role will help you to get to your next role, say yes. You know, sometimes taking a sideways move and not going for the money or the title can be much more advantageous to you in the long term. And another piece of advice that I got from someone a few years ago was work on what you're good at and don't focus on what you're not good at, because you're probably never going to get any better from an incremental perspective in the things that aren't really in your wheelhouse. But if you concentrate on what you do really, really well, you'll become successful anyway. It doesn't mean that, you know, you can't add up. I mean, obviously, if math is not your strong point, then you have to get to a certain level. But, you know, we always used to say you have to get a tutor for your child because they're bad at this, but you never actually get a tutor because you're good at something, whereas excelling at that may put you in a better position than concentrating on what you're not good at.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Really focusing on your strengths. Make sure you really think about the substance of what you're doing, the quality of your work. And that's so important, right? And in hospitality, I suppose you can't really hide from it, because when you're there working, the feedback is so instant if you're not delivering a great experience. But I agree, you know, get the substance of your work right, and that's what will make you stand out. And then I want to touch on your piece about planning just briefly, because I think we talk to a lot of people at Otolo who don't quite know what they want to do next. How do you go about forming that plan if the answers don't instantly come to you, especially because hospitality is just so broad, right? There are thousands of career paths and you probably can't see them all in those first few years.
Well, first of all, it doesn't come to you instantly. And I think that what my life coach taught me was you should go away for a couple of days on your own, somewhere quiet, and think really hard about where you want your life to be. Not your career, your life, where you want that to be in the next 10, 20, 30 years, and work back from that. It was very hard because I had to face some things that I didn't really want to face. Like, well, why am I doing that? If I want to be there, this is not going to help me get there. So I did. It was very difficult because I was, you know, opening a hotel in China at the time and married. So, you know, I said, well, I need a couple of days away and I need to go somewhere really quiet because I really think this is important. And it was hard. It was hard to sit there with a blank book and just basically think about my life in 30 years and where I wanted to be. It's not easy. But after I'd done that and I had all this stuff down in writing, when I read back over it, it was pretty easy for me. You know, I'd done business plans at work and everything. So it was pretty easy for me to pull out what was important in my life goals. And when I had that structure in place, I then looked at my career, you know, if I do this, if I move there, is that really going to help my end goal? It brought a lot of clarity to me, but you have to put the hard work in and really look inside yourself. It was not easy.
Great advice. Great advice. Well, look, unfortunately, we are nearly out of time, so we're going to check out, unfortunately, of our last bit of time together. But Marlene, a massive thanks for joining us today. I think we'll have thousands of people hopefully going off and making their own career plans now that they've heard it really is taking time out, and there's no exception. You just have to work on yourself. So that's great advice, and there's been tons of great advice over the last 30 minutes. So thanks so much for sharing your experiences with us. One thing
Thank you, James. I enjoyed it.
Good stuff. Well, look, obviously, if you want to be mentored by people like Marlene or others, head to myotolo.com. It's completely free, a new hospitality community where we just mentor, develop, and support each other. We're back again next week as Lobby Talks. We're going to be meeting Bajit Volmer, who is a resort GM that we've been working with for a few months and is just an incredibly inspirational female leader who has loads to say on hospitality. So really exciting. We do also have a short survey that we'll be pinging into the chat. We really want to make these events better and valuable, so please do share your thoughts, what works and what doesn't. So we'll see you on Otolo. We'll see you next Tuesday. Marlene, we'll catch you soon. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today, and stay safe, everyone. Bye-bye.